If you're a busy mom feeling stretched thin, I'd love to invite you to the Busy Working Moms Blueprint Summit this January 19th through the 26th. I'm one of the featured speakers alongside an amazing lineup of experts, all sharing practical ways to stress less and simplify your days. And it's completely free. Save your spot at positivelyproductive.com/summit26. Positive psychology research shows that when we experience positive emotions that come from experiencing joy and delight and amusement or even calm, our brain activates something called the broaden and build response. It widens our mental lens, if you will, helping us think in a sort of a more global way where it's more creative, we recover from stress faster, we problem solve more effectively, we're more innovative. Joy also supports nervous system regulation, which calms the stress response, which, as you know, when the stress response happens too often, we can get physically sick. So experiencing joy can help keep us healthy. You're listening to the Positively Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and today we're continuing our special series, walking through the workbooks inside the free Positively Productive Toolkit. Last episode, we explored core values, the why behind what matters most. Today, we're looking at something that feels lighter and more playful on the surface, but has a huge impact on your energy, your nervous system, and your productivity. We're talking about your joy list. If you already have the toolkit downloaded, wonderful. Go ahead and grab the joy list workbook and follow along with me. And if not, no worries at all. You can listen, reflect, and come back to this later on. Grab the workbook and fill it in while you're listening to the episode again. This workbook is one of my favorites because it blends self-care, self-awareness, and self-nourishment in a really simple and fun way. But let me be clear about one thing before we move on. Self-care isn't an indulgence. It's maintenance for your mind, body, and energy. It's nourishment. And your joy list will support you in this effort. Your joy list is so much more than what brings you joy. It's a self-care guide, an energy map, and a road back to yourself. And because your life, your brain, your season that you're in, and all the responsibilities you have are uniquely yours, your joy list must be uniquely yours too. Early in the workbook, I describe self-care as replenishing, nourishing, and energizing yourself. It's not just pampering, and I think that's been a big misconception for so long. We've had a ton of self-care episodes on the podcast. There's a playlist on the positivelyproductive.com/podcast page. You'll find a bunch of buttons to different playlists, and there's a self-care one there with tons of episodes. And in every single one, I think we have this conversation where we talk about how it's not just pampering. Although spa days are lovely, don't get me wrong. But true self-care is about restoring the energy you give out every single day, some more than others. And when we neglect that, what happens? Exhaustion, resentment, mistakes, overwhelm, and often the belief that we must ignore ourselves in order to take better care of others or even just to take care of others. Well, that belief has gotten us nowhere but burnout. It simply isn't true. Positive psychology research shows that when we experience positive emotions that come from experiencing joy and delight and amusement or even calm, our brain activates something called the broaden and build response. It widens our mental lens, if you will, helping us think in a sort of a more global way where it's more creative, we recover from stress faster, we problem solve more effectively, we're more innovative. Joy also supports nervous system regulation, which calms the stress response, which, as you know, when the stress response happens too often, we can get physically sick. So, experiencing joy can help keep us healthy. Tiny moments of pleasure or comfort act as grounding cues that gently shift us out of that stress mode. And when our nervous system feels safer, not only are we getting out of stress mode and staying healthier, but we're also able to function more clearly and compassionately. We're able to focus better. So, this is a benefit not only for ourselves, but for others around us. You can see that creating a joy list that you are going to experience joy based on is not frivolous. It's a way of saying, I matter too. My energy matters. My well being matters. And it does. When we support the human behind the to do list, which is what I'm all about here, productivity then becomes sustainable. It's no longer punishing, it's purposeful, and it's doable. Let's start creating that joy list of yours. In the workbook, I invite you to answer a set of reflective questions, the kind that reconnect you to simple pleasures and moments of soul-soothing nourishment and fun. And these are really enjoyable questions to answer. I mean, how many times do you stop and think about what you do want, what makes you happy, and what brings you joy? Most of the time, we're just trying to get through life, so it's lovely to sit back and reflect on something so positive. I remember I had a client one time who said she enjoyed it so much, she poured herself a glass of wine and she shut off the notifications and sat down and did her joy list. So even the experience of creating the joy list was a joy. How meta. So questions like, what lights me up? What relaxes me? What do I lose track of time doing? What makes me laugh or smile? I know these sound so simple and straightforward, right? But when was the last time you asked yourself those questions or ask yourself intentionally? You may kind of know these answers and think about it, but when you specifically ask, you're encouraging your brain to be creative and say, oh, well, this is something I really enjoy. And you'll start to make sometimes surprising connections. And here's the thing. That comes from honesty. I encourage you to be very honest. Be playful, be quirky, be very specific. This is not about what should be on your list or what's supposed to make you happy. It's about what truly brings you back to yourself. So for me, things on my joy list, for reals, iced coffee, a lot of times in silence because my mental load is great. I'm thinking about a lot of things and controlling things every minute of the day. I'm also innovative and I'm a multi-passionate, so I like to create things a lot. I'm thinking all the time. So being able to have a moment of silence, even if it's just a few moments, even if it's a few minutes, I take a sip, I close my eyes, and I reset from the crazy of the world. Take a breath and then keep going. For me, my joy list also includes cozy cats when they choose my lap as their nap headquarters. And then I get the bonus benefit of being stuck under this fluffy purring creature while house rules dictate that everybody else in the house must do things for me because you're not allowed to move the cat unless it's absolutely necessary. But we know that it better be necessary for that to happen. I love rewatching comfort shows. I know that sounds funny. I like watching new things, don't get me wrong, but I love rewatching shows that I've seen before that are familiar, like revisiting an old friend. And this is probably why I can quote so many of them all the way through. I love reading romance novels. No matter what anyone thinks, I love the love, and I'm going to lose myself in the stories about it. It's a great escape for me, and I'm here for it. I love music, 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 music. Playing it, singing it, listening to it, being surrounded by it. So many good things about music. It's something that's always been my therapy and my solace and my go-to and my energizer. It's been all of the things, and it matters to me. I love twinkle lights, everywhere, especially in the dark of winter. So it's very exciting when our Christmas tree comes out. We're putting up garland, but honestly, I'm happy to see them all through the year, and I've actually strung twinkle lights in my office. And I love turning them on and seeing them. It's a calming factor for me. And it actually taps into this element of creating cozy environments and how good they can be for you. I did an episode on this. I'll make sure to link to it in the show notes about how having a cozy space, your environment can help you be more productive. But that's on my joy list because simply put, it makes me happy to see them. And then another thing on my joy list, and then we'll move on to the next, is cooking something. But it has to be creative and delicious. I love to cook or create or bake edible art and decorate cupcakes and things like that. But I'm not talking about like meal prepping and trying to feed the family who can't seem to agree on what they want to eat. No, that's the opposite of joy for me. So cooking, yes, but creative and delicious things that are for fun and experimentation. Feeling scattered or stuck? When your mind is full, it's hard to focus on what truly matters. That's where the guided mind sweep comes in. A short, mindfulness style practice designed to help you release mental clutter, reduce stress, and create space for what's next. It's free, easy to do anytime, and listeners tell me it's a game changer for refocusing fast. You can find the guided mind sweep package for free at positivelyproductive.com/PLP sweep. So all of those things belong on my list because they're mine. And your list may look completely different, which is exactly right. Now, patterns may show up. You may value creativity or cozy calm or movement or connection or learning. Joy becomes a clue about how to refill your energy before burnout can get to you. And sometimes it also highlights what drains you, which is powerful information. This is self-care as self-knowledge, and it can do so much more than you might realize. Now, there's an overlap with core values, as you might be thinking. If you've explored core values with me in last week's episode, you may already notice the overlap. And if not, I encourage you to go listen to that episode and then you'll see what I mean. And the workbook even mentions this because joy is often how our values come alive in real life. If you value beauty, you may love aesthetics, art, creativity. If you value connection, joy may come through presence and people. If you value freedom, you may crave spacious days and time alone and flexibility. Joy can become the expression of what matters most to us. And that makes your self-care from your joy list deeply authentic. Now, because the joy list is meant to be used, not just created and left alone like one of those sad Pinterest boards that you meant to do something with, ask me how I know, the creation of the list is only the beginning. In my workbook, I help guide you to how you can use it, and I'll share even more in the rest of this episode. So the workbook suggests that you notice where joy already exists. That's fun because it's a way of celebrating what you're already doing right, what you already love. You know what works, so keep doing more of that while you discover other options. Also, try to add 1 to 3 new types of joy activities to your days if you can. Keep the variety going by adding in different things that you may have forgotten or you're discovering now that is something you do love and brings you joy. But keep in mind that consistency will always be the key. So no matter what, even if it's the same go-to of something that brings you joy, go ahead and keep doing that. I'm just encouraging taking the discoveries that you have here and creating a little bit of that variety because it may be fun for you, not only to include something new, but create a new pattern or a new habit that you wouldn't have otherwise. And go ahead and revisit and refresh your list. The more you learn about yourself, the more you'll uncover, and that may create like a continued pattern or energy of discovering new things. And once you get in that mindset of finding joy, it's the same idea with vision boards and things like that. There's something called the reticular activating system where it's like once you spot one thing, you see more of it and your mind is kind of trained to seek it out. This is going to help you train your mind to seek out your joy. So you're bound to find new opportunities for joy as you go, and you can incorporate those readily. And this is especially true if you're curious and love to learn. So one other thing I want to add that will help you with incorporating this into your real life is the sliding scale idea. I understand that when we talk about self-care, we talk about anything that requires action, it can feel like yet another item on your to-do list. Your already packed to-do list, like you have time for this, but I promise you it's worth it to carve out the time, and we're going to be creative about doing that. It's so important to find what lights you up, but how do you carve it in? I want you to think of your joy list as flexible with different levels of joy depending upon the time, space, and energy you have. Sometimes you have maybe 10 minutes, probably more likely 5. Sometimes you have an afternoon. Sometimes you have about 37 seconds before life calls again. And hopefully you can also carve out a nice chunk of time, maybe even a weekend, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's be realistic and go with the smaller scale. Instead of assuming self-care has to be this big, elaborate, long weekend kind of thing to be effective, understand that it's actually even more effective when we scale it and we do smaller bits of it more consistently. It can even help you develop the habit of it. So take a look at what's on your list and think about how you can do levels depending upon that time, space, and energy you have. And I'll give you 3 levels and some examples that you can play with and consider. Let's start with level 1, and that's the more realistic one. We'll call it like the micro joy, the mini joy, right? 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know what I can do with 37 seconds except to encourage you to breathe through your nose and out your mouth just a little bit longer to like trigger the vagus nerve in a positive way. But if you have 5 to 10 minutes, I have some quick nervous system resets for you. And this is the classic case of feeling like you don't have time to spare, but if you're creative and effective, even in 5 minutes, you can still make a difference. So things on this list could include sipping that iced coffee or hot coffee, if that's your preference, or tea. It doesn't matter. It's taking a sip of a preferred beverage that's just where you take that sip and you're like, don't do that though. That's probably annoying to others, but you know what? It's your joy list. So if taking a sip of something and going, I can't even, I'm making myself laugh now. See, but that brought me joy because, sarcasm and silliness do that for me. So take that sip. And then sometimes, like I said, maybe taking a deep breath after that. That will do it. And in this case, 5 minutes, you can take a few sips. I mean, I could put down a cup of coffee in like 2 minutes. So try that. You're taking in some hydration and some breathing and just taking a moment. Another micro joy within 5 to 10 minutes, pet the cat. Hey, how did that advice get on my list? I'll have to check with Cosmo and Cleo. I have a feeling they had something to do with this, but I will admit they are right. A quick cuddle with a pet, a furry creature who's sweet, or even something soft like one of those wonderfully cozy blankets, it can do wonders. Take a few minutes to step outside, look at the green. We talked about this with Casey Riley about what green can do for your psyche. And take a breath again about the breathing, but it's taking these moments to reset yourself, reset your nervous system. Read a couple of pages of your favorite book, or maybe this is a better time if you don't want to get sucked into the chapters to read a summary or a review and get yourself set up for when you can sit down and read that next book. Listen to a favorite song. Now that has a deadline built in, and usually it's under 5 minutes. It's a fantastic way to calm you down or power you up depending upon what you need energetically. And another thing you can do in this short amount of time is stretch or move. I think the cats also taught me that one because, oh man, a really good stretch can feel so satisfying, and it can kind of like reset the blood flow and get you ready for going back in. Now, level 2, we'll call this like nourishing joy. If you have 30 to 60 minutes, these fill your well a bit deeper, right? This is when you have a solid chunk of time, but you still need to be efficient with it. This could be a great time to cook something fun, pretty, and tasty, like I mentioned was on my list. This is also an opportunity to eat it, which is definitely on my joy list. So this kind of fits right into the whole lunchtime thing, right? You got 30 to 60 minutes. Make yourself a really beautiful salad and then sit and eat it. Take a moment instead of like rushing through. Now, this is also a great opportunity to read for pleasure. And I say that because if you're reading to learn, that might be pleasure. So read whatever you want. But I say doing it for fun or pleasure because it allows you to escape from all the demands. We're trying to get away from the stress and nourish ourselves a bit. Well, any pleasure is up to you, right? So set a timer, tuck into a good book, and let it work wonders. This is also an opportunity to watch a comfort show. You'll notice a lot of these are from my list, right? But just giving you ideas. If there was something that you wanted to binge watch or you couldn't get to, you might be able to fit 2 episodes in if you fast forward through the commercials. You could also take a walk or move your body in a way that feels really good to you. And this is an extended version of that, okay? This time qualifies great for doing traditional exercise in whatever way really works for you. And that will make a huge difference in your focus and how you're feeling. This is also a time where I might want to learn a new song or practice an instrument or do something that's very specific that might be more creative related or might be more learning related because there's enough time to do that. And also talking about having enough time for lunch, this would be a great opportunity for a coffee date or lunch date. Now, this could be on your own, sort of coffee break style, or with a friend. This time frame can allow you to not only receive traditional nourishment and take that break, but also maybe feel nourishment via connection to someone else. And this is especially important if you're an extrovert. Now, level 3 is more immersive joy, because this is like a half day or more. This could be the long weekend thing. It depends. These are the more restorative experiences where you have sufficient time to lean into it. And this can be really good when you're feeling the need for healing even more so. And while this might be more rare, it's good to consider what you would do during this time so that when you can carve out the time, you're ready to go. You're not wondering, oh, now what do I do with this? You know what you're going to do and you know what's going to work best for you and really tap into that joy. Some suggestions for this amount of time would be day trips or really big creative projects, especially if you're like me, where you like to move the furniture around or you want to paint the walls. And yes, I know that sounds like work, but for some of us, it's very exciting to like reset and redesign a space. It could be flat out rest days. I am all for that. My joy list does include napping. Do not get me wrong. And that is so important for me on so many levels. Long conversations with a good friend, retreats or classes of some kind of learning or workshop, especially if that taps into your core values of learning. Any kind of adventures that are going to tap into where you find joy. And the power of approaching it this way is so simple. You always have something available, no matter how short or how long the time is. Busy days, hard seasons, and even when that inner voice says there's no time to take a break, remember that taking that break is productive. And you can spare 5 minutes, and it counts. So then your joy list becomes, a self-care library, a pool from which to choose from, and an energy emergency kit where you're like, I need to energize myself. What's on the list? Yeah, and it's a way to like tap back into who you are and calm everything and reset. And over time, your joy will change from just something you're trying to squeeze in, or maybe you'll get to something that supports you every day and that you support. That's compassionate productivity. That's human first productivity. As we finish this episode, may I remind you that your joy list is yours and yours alone. Please remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation for what brings you joy. Joy does not have to be impressive or efficient or big. It doesn't have to be anything. It's just what brings you joy. Small joys matter deeply. And if joy feels far away right now, start with calm. Start with ease. Start small. Start with something soothing. Joy isn't selfish. It's restorative, and you are deserving of it. Your Joy List workbook is a beautiful next step in the Positively Productive Toolkit and a powerful companion to the Core Values workbook. I hope as you walk through it, you allow yourself to explore freely, embracing your quirks and idiosyncrasies and remembering that joy is not optional. Self-care is not optional. It's part of what keeps you whole and at your best. If you don't have the toolkit yet, you can grab it anytime, completely free at positivelyproductive.com/PLPkit, PLPKIT. Inside, you'll find the Joy List along with the Core Values workbook and the Assessments workbook, which we'll be reviewing next episode. Until next time, I'm cheering you on as you make the effort to care for yourself in real, nourishing ways. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. I hope this episode inspired you, and I encourage you to think about one action you can take based on today's topic. Then share it with me so I can cheer you on. Go to positivelyproductive.com to connect with me, read blog posts, and access links from each episode and download resources.